Hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So let's get into this replay. So you said you're about GC1.
Jump 3 at the moment.
Okay, yeah. So
And in between.
yeah, pretty close. Kind of on that cusp, but still dealing with some Smurfs.
Not really, just having bad days.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start off and let's watch this kickoff for one. All right. So do you remember if you were trying to lose this to the side or not?
If I was what?
Do you remember if you were trying to lose this to the side or not?
I can't see what you're...
Hold on a sec. Let me make sure. Okay, that's what it is. All right, let's try it now. How about this?
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. So do you remember if you were trying to lose this to the side or no?
I just kind of wing it almost.
Okay.
All the time. I don't really have a strategy for kickoffs.
Okay. So one of the easiest ways, switch to your perspective. Whenever you're going for kickoff, what you want to be doing is watching their nameplate. So you can see right here, he's going more inside than you. And so with you coming at it from the outside, you're going to lose this to the left. So you see how if you watch his nameplate, you can see how he's more central than you. So that's what's causing this to go to the left. So if you can watch your opponent's nameplate, something else I would do is go into your settings and go to interface and change the nameplate scale up to 200%. It'll make it much easier for you to read kickoffs because that looks a little small. So that's the one thing I would say that's going to make your life pretty easy on kickoffs is if you start doing that. Watch the nameplate and just treat it like a 50. Okay. Okay, good rotation, good stacking. So right here, you get a little close.
Yeah.
I would be spreading out a little bit. This is a... Right here, you should be watching and anticipating how this 50 is going to happen. So you see that he's facing backwards. So this is likely going to be like a half flip challenge from Jelly. And you notice that your teammate is coming from the left of him. So that means it's more than likely going to show up right. So I would be cheating harder right here. So does that make sense on how to read that?
Yeah. But should I be like more forward or more back, or is it like kind of fine?
As far as like the distance behind, I would say that's good. I would just be further out right, just because if this drops in like short, it's easier to turn back in, and then you can bang it off the wall and then set up a 1v1 against Mark here. Or since this flies out further, you'll just be ready to immediately take a shot on net or set up for a double tap or something.
Yep.
So just really watch your teammate. Like if we go to you again, you can see, okay, this ball's coming across. It's coming closer to me. My teammate is trying to force this middle or across for me.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a good 50. Good recovery. So right here, and this is important for 2s and 3s. As you're rotating out, because you're staying ball side and not rotating through the play, you should be immediately challenging this and shadowing the ball because of how far back your teammate is. So 2s is a game of possession. What you want to be doing is when you don't have the ball is you want to be forcing it to your teammate. And so right here, instead of abandoning the play completely, you want to stay on this because this right now, this is a completely free ball. So if we go back to fly cam, like you're going to see how much space is on this ball after this 50. Right here, he gets that touch, and then he stops because it looks like you're going for a demo. And then you're not in ball cam, so you don't notice how much free time this has. And then they take all that free time to gain possession. Well, they throw it away, but at a higher rank, like that would have been a catch. And instead of banging this away, he would have taken control of that and set up a dribble. So make sure that you're following up the ball whenever you have time to, especially when your teammate's far away, so they don't get pressure.
Look if he's really far back and then just intercept the play. Or
Yeah, that's essentially what you're doing. Is you're slowing the play down for him to get in the correct position. Whether that's the correct position is he's on the opposite side getting a boost and he's trying to get back to net, or if he's too far back because he's not rotating fast enough, or he's rotating all the way back field instead of staying in the midfield. So that is one thing that I noticed is your teammate is relatively passive. So he's playing more so like a third man in threes than a second man in twos. Right here, this is a good job staying close, good job staying patient. So this is where you've got to realize how fast this play can become. So right here, it's good to be like your positioning right there was perfect. And then you give up that positioning. So right here, you see that the ball is going slow here.
should it like just stop or
Uh, so you maybe cheated up a little bit too hard, but leaving this position is kind of where you mess up. So you create more space and you distance yourself from a play that's moving slowly. So nobody's rushing into this. So there's not going to be a lot of power put on this ball unless there's just some unlucky pinch. But you shouldn't be playing that anyway because that's just an unlucky pinch. That's going to happen 1 out of 100 times, and you're not going to be able to predict that. So you shouldn't be trying to cover that option. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So you right here, if you just stayed close and stayed sideways, right here, if you just drift across. So you're sitting right about here. So if right here, you just slowly start moving this way, watch as this play develops. You just slowly move that way. Now you're ready to pounce on this. And then even if, like, let's say they get a better 50 here and it flips out behind you or it pops up and over your head, everybody is stuck in the corner moving very slow. You're still going to be the first one to that ball. And then you can just take possession on your side of the field, go grab boost, reset, and then start another attack. And that's the worst thing that can happen. So right here, it's okay to play more aggressive just because of how slowly there is and how little momentum is being stirred into the play. Right there, that's a good follow-up. So you see here, this is where you would want to be a little bit further back. So you see how much momentum there is to this play?
Yeah.
So your teammate cheats up like you did, but because the play is moving faster, that's why he gets awkward here. And then now there's nobody on this ball because he cheated up too far. So you want to match the speed of the play. So the slower the play, the closer you can be. And the faster the play, the kind of further back you need to be. So that's just one of the things to watch for. And the speed is not just what's happening immediately, but also who's coming into the play, adding momentum. Okay. So good job. Just make challenge for your teammate. Right here. So let's see where your boost is at right now. Okay, so your low boost here. Let's see why you're low boost. Okay, so one of the big things is you used a lot of boost to get to where you were, but you didn't utilize any of the pads as you were driving through. If you had stuck with those pads, you'd still have about 30-40 boost here, and you'd be able to make a play on this. And then instead of grabbing that boost as you're coming out, now you're sitting low boost. Right here, you could have grabbed that pad behind you, cut this ball up in front, and then now you're having an attack. And it's very easy to flick this backboard and make them waste boost, and then set your teammate up for an aggressive play here versus trying to drag this across and kind of faking out your teammate. Because if you're making a play like that, your teammate thinks that you're attacking, and so you have boost, you have options. So just make sure when you're making these plays that you make them quick and then get out when you're in these low boost situations, because that's going to
I
bait your
should
teammate. And
just try and leave the ball for him, or just
not leave the ball for him, but make a quicker attack and then rotate out.
so just flick it and then leave instantly, or
Yeah, so like right here, instead of trying to drag this all the way across the field, so there's no pressure on this ball. So if you just grab this pad that's right behind you, tap this ball upfield. So right here, instead of taking this all the way across, what you could do is grab this pad, and then as this ball's rolling across, get a slight little touch, grab this pad, and you're basically turning into this play quicker, being more aggressive. And then he's going to see this, and then you just immediately flick it, and like just a backflip flick or 45. There's plenty of flicks that you can use, depending on your skill level. But basically, you just get this ball up high and at their backboard, and then you just rotate out here. And then as that's happening, your teammate sees, oh, he flicked it high and now he's leaving. Now you've bought time for your teammate to get in position. Versus what happens here is as you drag this across, your teammate took the boost. And so now your teammate's going up to support you. You get this flick, and then now you're still going for this, and your teammate thinks that you're going to make this explosive play. Because right here, if you just had 20-30 boost, you get this one flick, then you boost and you have this shot, and that's what your teammate's reading. But he doesn't know you're low boost because this is ranked and you guys aren't in comms. And so he's
I'm
playing you
actually
taking that
coming,
shot.
but
Huh?
it's actually coming with him.
Okay. So right
But
here,
still,
yeah.
it's just me. Yeah.
Okay, so that changes things a little bit. So right here, you should tell him that you're low boost and that you're going to get one flick and then leave. And so that way he can stack up, and as soon as you flick this ball, he can be up for it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I come that. So
Yeah. So that's just one of those things that you can start doing as calming what options you have or what you're about to do, especially if you know ahead of time. So like right here, you know you're low boost, and so you go, hey, I'm going to take this. I'm going to get one flick and then leave.
yeah.
So if you can do that as you're dragging this ball across, because you got all this time. And then right there, your teammate can be ready for that flick and be sitting like much
More
closer.
upfield.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. So there's not a lot of momentum on this play right now. Nobody's challenging this, so you guys can stack up. So right about here, if your teammate rotates up with you and trusts that you can get this flick and just beat one person, then he's going to be first to this ball. So watch. So if instead he rotates out, if he rotates up with you, as soon as that flick happens, then he's in a position to immediately take a shot, and Jelly's out of position.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So just better comms.
Yeah, so that's a That's going to help you out a lot. Uh, so have you, what's like your typical calming style? Like who's typically dictating what's happening on the play? Like, do you guys say, hey, this is what I'm doing? Or do you guys go, hey, I'm positioned here, and then just let the person do what they want with that information? What's kind of y'all's chemistry?
Why you just say like I'm here and then you kind of see what the other guy does.
Okay.
So like you say I'm mid and then maybe, and then if he passes it mid, then he says mid, but maybe he also doesn't pass it mid, kind of.
Yeah, so you just kind of, you're more so just letting your teammate know your position. So, and then
Yeah.
letting them. Okay. So, what I would start doing is not only notating your position, but then also say what you're trying to do. Uh, so, one, what this does is this will build confidence and intentionality on all of your touches. So, no matter what you're doing, it's like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm hitting this backboard. And so now you've said it out loud, and it'll start to reinforce, like, okay, I'm hitting this backboard, like confidence, and then as well as just that communication. So when you say it out loud, you're much more likely to do it once you get comfortable saying that. That's just a psychology thing. It's kind of like if you say, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go run 1 mile today. It's like if you say that out loud, it's much more likely to happen than if you just think it. Uh,
Yeah.
so saying stuff out loud will help with the mechanics side of it, the confidence side of it, and then also it'll let your teammate know what the next step is going to be and what to prepare for. So that way they don't have to just rely on, oh, well, I'm here, so now just kind of have to guess how he's going to do this solo play.
Yep.
Okay, so good cheats. So let's see how we could have. So right here. So right here, if you just stick going wider and keep boosting, so that little stop and boosting is what costs you this open net. So, so this is very good cheating. And then right here, if you just stick wide of this and tell him open net, like, hey, it's open, then what you can do is instead of him running for boost,
Just bang it mid.
yeah, just bang it mid. So it's just like, hey, it's open. Then instead of flipping, or even if he does flip and he gets all the way to that side, all you have to do is get this somewhere on the left half of the field, and then your teammate has an open net.
Yeah.
And so you definitely have the mechanics to figure out 1,000 different ways to do that. So we're not going to labor that point very much. But just realize that all you have to do there is get it mid because you've already beat both people. Okay. All right. So right here is a missed opportunity for possession. So right here, you should be taking this ball up and around the wall. So the easiest way to do that is do you see how there's these lines here along the wall?
Yeah.
They're very faint. So right here is a flat section of the wall. And if you get the ball rolling up this with any momentum this way, it's going to stick to the wall and you can bring it up and around very easily. And then even if it bounces out just a little bit, you can, once you get more towards the flat part of the wall, which is right about here. So these outside sections are curved.
Yeah.
And then this middle section is completely flat. So if you just get your momentum going up and forward and just get this ball rolling up and out, it'll stick to the wall here. If you bring it up outside, it'll bounce out and you'll need to catch it. Or if you get it kind of rolling up more so on this half, it will kind of bounce out further. But if you get it rolling up right here as well, it'll act more like this section. So you've got an opportunity to take full possession here. All you have to do is touch this ball and get it just so if you're coming into this, instead of coming in from the left of it, right here comes, hit it. So now you're coming across it. All you have to do now is just get a touch left, and you can get this to roll up the wall, and you can take control of it. And if you get that touch before, you can still get that boost. So you can hit the ball right about here. So right here, you're immediately going for the boost and leaving the ball. Just like I said, if you just come in a little bit wider there. Was that the right time? Yeah, so right here, you see how you turned in?
Going wide.
Yeah, just keep going wide because one, it covers the net, and then two, you'll be able to get another touch on this ball, and you can force it up that middle section. You can still grab the boost, and now he's used all your boost to chase you down, and then now you've got the ball up and over him. And then depending on what his teammate's doing, so his teammate's really far out of the play. So right here, if you had made that touch, this ball would be rolling up the wall. You'd be dribbling it, and then you'd have the option of either air dribbling it out or just taking it up and around to open space and making him chase you and waste more boost. So right here, you don't need to clear this. Right here, as soon as he flips away, watch how much space you have. So watch, as soon as he's flipping away, you can see on the outside left side his other teammate. So right here, you have all the time in the world to take possession here instead of bang it away. And you've got boost. You're mechanical enough that you can set up a dribble when there's no pressure. Right here, as soon as he flips away, instead of boosting into this and clearing, just take possession.
Yeah. I think it was panicking a bit, maybe.
Yeah. And so that's just when you realize how safe that situation is, you don't have to panic. And so that's why you watch your opponent here. He goes, oh, he flips away? Cool. Oh, Jelly's there? I can slow down right now because there's no threat on this ball. So something that will help is if you kind of have like a 3D mini map in your head. So right here, you have enough vision to see the entire field. So if you just think about this field right here, it's like, oh, I have a ton of space right now. You see what I mean? Like, even if Jelly ends up coming and challenging you before you get like full control of it, you can still pop it over his head, and then your teammate's right behind you to bang that on net. So just learning to kind of think in that 3D space of not just what does the ball do right now, but where is everybody on position or on positioning in the field.
Yeah, so like more adapting to the opponents and teammates, kind of.
Yeah. So it's more what space is the opponent's not covering and try to get the ball to that space. So right there, they weren't covering the space where the ball directly was. And so you had plenty of time to take it. Right here, here's another area where they give you a lot of space here. So that is kind of a difficult read to make. But part of what makes it difficult is you cut in so hard. So right here, with you going so parallel with this, it's very hard to get a read on what this is doing. So like, let's come down here. And let's turn on watching the ball. So like, let's pretend you're right here. So instead of cutting up field, you just cut across like this. Like even if you're this close, just hugging that halfway line, you see how much easier to read this is versus coming in as close as you did. So see how much harder to read that is just because you're cutting in so close versus...
So just like go wider.
Yeah. So one of the advantages of going wider is you get more information and it's easier to read the play. The disadvantage of it is you can't react as fast. Now, there's this kind of Goldilocks zone that's different for every player, just because of reading ability and mechanical ability. So it's one thing to be able to read it quickly. So let me... And this is also kind of like where ranks get faster and faster. So let's say you can read this play from here and back. So you want to be behind this line, but you also need to be able to react to this play. So for you to be able to close enough to react to it, you've got to be here. So you've got to be on this side of this line. So your Goldilocks zone is here. So for a lower rank player,
be further above.
Yeah, so for lower rank players, it's like, okay, well, I need to be able to read the play, but I need to be way back here for me to be able to read this. But for me to be able to react to it, I still need to be up here, because that's where my mechanics are. So you see the lines are inversed here, and so that's when you know, okay, I need to work on my mechanics to be able to react to it. So that's where, that's an easy way to just kind of tell what it is you need to work on versus mechanics versus positioning. Is looking, if you get a difficult read like this, go into free play, or not free play, but a replay, and then watch it back and see where could I have read this from, and how close could I have read that from here.
So just kind of find like the sweet spot.
Yeah, and that's different for every player, and then also you do have to take into account how fast can the opponent react, and so that kind of shifts that line there. But even then, if you're sitting further back, you can read what your opponent's doing, and instead of following up play one, which is this bouncing off here, you can still be in position to follow up what the opponent's going to do. And so that's kind of what the lower ranks tend to do, is they're not following up play one, which is this coming off here. They're following up play two. And so the difference in ranks is how fast they can read that, and so how fast they can react to it. So at the highest ranked, both players would already be up for this ball trying to 50 it. Because their reading ability, they can read it from this close. And they have the mechanical ability to react to it from here. So both players are in that position, and that's what separates out those ranks. It's not that you can fly faster or all that. It's that they can recognize what's happening faster, and then they also have the mechanics and momentum and game sense to get there faster. So does that make sense as far as like trying to find your sweet spot?
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right. Yeah, so that's right here. So this would be a position where if you know you're not going to be able to do anything with this, I would just go ahead and leave and let him make this play in this position and cut off this section of the field. So if you just cut off the middle of the field here, then no matter what happens, it's not going to be an open net. And then now you can be either rotating in behind, Moose as he goes for this, or if Jelly was a lot quicker on this, you could immediately cut off a shot. So this is just another position where you guys throw the ball away and are trying to play boomer ball.
And I also went up too far.
So right here, if he was trying to take possession of this versus boom this is good positioning. So like right here, if he doesn't boom this and he just takes possession, then what he can do is draw in the first defender because he's dribbling. So he forces this guy to commit. So instead of booming it, he takes control of this. So now this guy has to commit to challenging this play and trying to get your teammate to throw it away to Jelly. So what Moose's job is, instead of throwing it away to Jelly, is to throw it away to you. So you could sit here, and then as this challenges, he just does a side flip flick, and if he isn't able to follow it up, you are. And then now Jelly has to commit to covering you as soon as this goes over that. And then now, if Moose can get in front of you or get in a position where he can immediately follow it up, and you guys can come down the field in tandem, you guys have a 2v1 situation here. Does that make sense as far as positioning?
Like less boomer ball.
Yeah. So the thing is like it works in lower ranks because hit ball hard, like the reading ability isn't there. And so it's very easy to beat people just because they can't read the ball, and then also the mechanics aren't quite there. So that's kind of like a bad habit that's a process into developing skills. And so it becomes meta for like the lower ranks, like, you know, Diamond or pretty much anything below Champ 1. Like, for the most part, it's hit the ball as hard as you can and outspeed your opponent and make them whiff because I'm hitting the ball harder than they can read. That's the typical strategy. And so you guys are still kind of playing that way versus taking the open space that you have. So, if Moose follows up his touch here, this is a good play, but he hits it too far away for himself to be able to challenge this, and he doesn't get up in the air. So this is a point where Jelly's reading this better than Moose, and he just beats Moose, and it's over your net. So if Moose...
But like, if I see him bang it here, should it just rotate back, right?
So right here, I would just completely slow down. So right here, if you just slow down and stay there and start to rotate out wider, because you can see this position, it's heading mid somewhere, either your half of the field or their half of the field. And if you're turned sideways, all you have to do is either turn upfield if it goes in your favor, or turn back and shadow. So instead of being facing upfield, which is only covering the optimistic option, just face sideways, and then you can split off into whatever direction it goes. Okay. And so this again, because this play is moving fast, there's a lot of momentum on this ball. You do want to be further back. And so right about here is the best spot for it. So that way you just go sideways, and then you can immediately turn either direction. So like you see how if you were just sideways here, how easy it would be for you to have turned back. And like this ball isn't going fast at all. You would have easily caught up to that.
Yeah. And because of kickoffs, as you said before, is there like any strategies you should try to implement? Or
yeah, so what I always teach people is kickoff. So it's the same thing as you taking the kickoff, except instead of playing the first man, you're playing the second man. So let's back up and let's watch from your perspective. So right here, all you want to be doing is following up the second play. So Jelly's taking this kickoff. So you should be playing Mark here. So you should be mirroring him so that way you guys both can get to this. So right here, really, if you just make that touch, that's a open net. But if you're, one of the things is don't boost. Don't boost here. So let's just waste boost. So you have the same amount of boost and now you're out of position because you boosted from one pad to the other. You actually have less boost than if you had just driven forward.
Okay.
So the only
That's a
time...
weird position.
Yeah. So it's right here. If you just drive straight up behind your teammate, maybe do a wave dash at the very start to give yourself a little bit more speed if you want to be aggressive with it. But really, you should be watching Mark's nameplate here and just mirroring what he does. So you see how he jumps up close? So you need to be just as close so you can react to this. Because really, he should be beating you to this ball. Because look how close he is.
Yeah.
Like, he should have beat you to that ball every day of the week. But his reaction time's slow. So really, you just want to mirror what the second man's doing. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so clear. Let's see. So right here, instead of, and this is going to be pushing your mechanics a little bit, but I 100% believe you have the capacity to do it. After this 50, follow this ball up off the wall. Yeah. So, like, if anything, what this will do is freeze Mark. So instead of using your boost to go upfield, this 50 happens. If you just continue driving up and you just jump for this, you can do basically a speed flip in the air. And you know that it's going to be bouncing off the ceiling just because of how much vertical momentum it has. So you can just kind of aim for like middle ground, and it's pretty easy to read like a straight ball. Like it's just guessing the height here. But if instead of boosting here, you had jumped, speed flipped in the air and been here, you would have scared Mark off and said, oh, he's already up for this. If he's going for this, he must be good enough to go for it. And so now he backs off in a much more threatening position.
My teammate has a free touch.
Yeah. And so basically, you call faking, and then if you get the touch, it's just an open goal. Or if anything, you force Mark to be deeper. Or you force Mark to challenge you in the air and throw the ball away to Moose. And so the thing is it makes Mark commit to an option much sooner, which gives Moose more time to read and react to Mark, since Jelly is out of the play entirely. Okay, so here is something else, is watch your car's body language. So as you turn like this, it looks like you're leaving the play, and then you immediately turn on this again. And that's right when Moose thinks it's his ball, and now Moose rotates out, and now he's out of position for this. So if you're going to cut back in, you need to comment before you do. Or you just need to be shadowing this and let Moose go. And just be like, hey, I'm just going to keep this for you. I'm just shadowing. I'm not going to challenge it. You're just keeping this ball in this position by pressuring it from this outside and just allowing Moose to go full force into this, because he can bang this off this corner pretty easily. And Jelly's backwards to this play. And so right when he's turning in right here is when that ball's going to be coming at him. And so he's probably not going to get a good touch on it. And then you can be rotating out mid to cover whatever it is that Jelly does.
Well, yeah, I think I didn't actually intend to go for it, but then I like kind of saw or thought it was three. So
Yeah, so that's the thing is like don't make the if you make a decision, just go for it because that makes it very easy for your teammate to read. Even if it's not necessarily the best decision, what it does is it keeps you and your team on the same page.
yeah,
And that's more important than making the optimal play. Here. So again, just look at the amount of momentum that this play has. And so you need to be distanced from it. So like if you just stop right here, because Moose is going full force into this, I typically like to stay a little bit further back, like basically behind that 3 line of boost pads on the opponent's half.
yeah.
So
But like I also thought to maybe be like ready for a pass.
yeah, so even then,
Or
even if he's passing it here, don't make it to where he has to dime you up. Because then all that means, if he goes for a pass here and you're this close, then the opponents know exactly where that pass is going to go because he only has one position that he can pass it to. Versus if you're further back, he's got more of an option. So if you're further back here, he can pass it anywhere in this vicinity, and then you can follow it up, or really even further out than that. Because he's controlling that pass, he can pass it here, and you've got full control, and you can attack it from any of these angles and still get a shot on net. But with you cheating up like this, he's now only got that much space. So with you cheating up, now he only has that much space. So now, instead of your opponents having to worry about all that space, they only have to worry about this space. So you see how by cheating up, you cut off options, not only for your teammate to use you, but then you also make it an easier job for the opponents to go, oh, I only have to cover this little area because if he passes it here, he's not going to get to it. Or if he passes it here, all he can do is hit it in the corner because he's not going to be able to get it around it in time. So does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So right here. Right here, because the play and all of them are on this side, I would not be cutting back in here. And this is more a personal choice, not necessarily right or wrong, because they've given you half the field to work with. But I would have grabbed this boost pad and brought it up and around. So that way, my teammate who's grabbing boost over here, he can support me easier, and then now I've got height and speed instead of just height coming into this play. So like right here,
The backboard again.
yeah. What was it?
Yeah. Take it over the backboard again.
Yeah. So it's just one of those, and that's more of a personal playstyle thing. The reason I like doing that is it draws them in and it forces them to commit. It's like you have the ball, they need to do something about it. If you take the ball to them immediately, then they don't have to use boost or anything to get in position. Versus if you draw it all the way across the field, now they've got to use boost to get across the field, and now that's 30 boost that neither of them have to defend with.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So right here, you're sitting a little bit close. This is like right here. This is kind of a good job because you're sideways. You can turn back on this if he gets beat. But you should just continue your momentum cheating upfield because right here, if he hits it across, Like right here, if Jelly somehow gets a touch on this and hits it here, if you continue your momentum this way, you're still going to be able to rotate wide and come out. Or if he just gets beat, you can push in and finish this goal up. So right, the problem I'm mainly seeing is you turn onto this ball way too soon. That tends to be kind of where everything falls apart. Is you turn on that and stop your momentum versus just carry your momentum through the play and basically shadowing the options. Okay. A little bit of a mechanical mistake, but okay. So right here, I would let this ball roll in front of you versus passing this mid because this is kind of dangerous.
Yeah, I don't think I wanted to pass it there.
Yeah. So like I said, I think that was a mechanical mistake, but like once it goes over, this looks like a pass to your teammate, so you should just let it be a pass to your teammate. You see him trying to take control of it. Unless he said, take this ball from me, I would not take this ball from him. Because then he has to stop and then he has to use boost to get his momentum back. And you can kind of see the few seconds of confusion that result from that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, so this is good positioning. Okay. When you're going for this aerial off the wall, use your flip. So jump here and then flip. So do you know like the twisted flip, which is basically like a speed flip that you just let go of
Yeah,
the...
I kind of know, but I can't really control it. Like I try to do it, but I'm just like end up anywhere.
Okay. So something that else you can do here is just turn your car a little bit forward and kind of just like a straight-nosed aerial and then just side flip from here. Because that'll get your momentum moving sideways quicker. It'll conserve boost. And then like right here, you'll get this immediate jump and then you'll be able to follow up this play more. Like right here, you see how you're turning into this and you're barely getting to this ball? If you use your flip, you're going to have all that momentum sideways. You're going to be almost supersonic with the boost that you've already used. And then you're going to be able to get a good shot on net versus just this light tap.
Yeah. Just missed that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so again, this is just getting better on that reading ability. This is a ball that you should already be up for right here. So this should be like if you just get into any backboard saves training pack, it'll cover this. I think that's going to be one of the things that helps you the most because it's going to work on your aerials and it's going to work on your reads off the wall. As far as mechanics goes, those are the two things that I'm noticing that need the most help.
I think like I could have gotten the read if I went immediately, so I think I'm a bit too hesitant maybe, or...
Yeah, so what it feels like is you just aren't used to this pace of play yet. It feels like you're used to playing like diamonds and champ 1s. You aren't quite used to the speed that champ 3s are playing at. So it's like you have the mechanical ability, but what you're not noticing is that your opponents also have that same mechanical ability. And so they're going for things earlier that you can beat them to just because you're not expecting somebody to be there. This is kind of something that I run into when I go like in solo queue and stuff like that. Like I'm expecting somebody to be going for something. and I'll flip to make a save because I'm expecting somebody to be immediately on the ball, and then it just looks like I'm completely whiffing because the opponent's sitting like way back here, and I'm expecting them to be taking a shot right here. And so I'm just zooming back and I jump and I flip, and it's like, oh, wait, there's not a threat. And so it can kind of work both ways. So it really just pay attention to like getting your speed up and committing to stuff earlier. I think that's your biggest thing is you're just very hesitant. You're playing it, trying to play it at a speed that Diamond low champ level would versus the champ 3s GC1s play at.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think the mechanical ability is there. It's just going for it. Because like every time you have gone for it, except for like once or twice, like you've made a good play on the ball. It's just you're expecting to have more time on the ball than you do. Yeah, so like for instance, like this play right here, like this is kind of a perfect example of the difference between ranks. So in plat, what Jelly would be doing here is running as far side of the post as he can to let this bounce in front of him and drop this into that bottom corner. Versus, this level, he's immediately following this up to try and score this. And so if you're used to playing against that plat level, you're going to be like, oh, there's no threat. Nobody's going to go for this ball. But at this level, of course, somebody's going to be going for this ball. So I think it's just realizing those situations.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so like right there, like that's a good play. You immediately went for it. Right here, that's good patience, realizing that you were beat. So again, just staying sideways deep enough. So like right here, if you just continue rotating outward.
So towards our side,
or yeah, like just continue on the path that you were. So like right here, just keep your momentum going. Like, yeah, you can turn back a little bit to cover this. Well, right now it's like kind of 0-second situation. Like instead of turning around here, if you had just kept driving across the field, then you would be in position to immediately jump for this and possibly put this in the net.
Yeah. Okay.
So did everything make sense as far as like the decision making process and what to work on?
Yeah. Yeah. I understood everything.
Okay, yeah. So let me go into training packs. Where So like the ultimate warm up pack, I think is going to be really good for you, and then the shadow defense pack. I think those two are going to be, or really the shadow defense pack. I think is going to be the best one, and then also shots you shouldn't miss. So I'm gonna copy these and put it in the. So if you go to the text channel that's right above us, I'm gonna put these in there for you.
Yeah.
So, do you have any questions for me about any of the mechanics or any of the decision-making processes, or?
Not just the warm up pack. Should I do like just when I want to, or like actually every time before I play?
So okay, so let's cover like warm-up topics. So this is my personal preference on how I warm up. So whenever I'm hopping in, what I'll do, specifically, I use Urban Central for one reason, is it makes it very easy to see where the corners are. So on other maps, like it's just kind of clear. But here you can very well see these lines very distinctly. So it makes it really easy for warming up reads, and then also just controlling the ball. But what I'll do, and this is just, like I said, adapt this to yourself. So I'll just spend a few minutes just hitting the ball around. So doing something that I can do mildly consistently. Just getting a feel for the controller again. So a few minutes like this, dribbling the ball around, trying to hit it hard, follow it up immediately. Yeah, so just real simple like that. So I'll do that for about 5 minutes. And then what I'll go to is whatever mechanic that I know I'm like 50 to 60% consistent on. So for me, that's speed flips. So I'll come in, like you can see, I was way wide on that one. So this is what I warm up next. So this is the skill for me that rusts, or that isn't on peak no matter what I do. So like you can see, like I've really got to warm up my speed flip kickoffs or I'm just going to be whiffing all the time. So I'll spend a few minutes doing this. So for you, what your skill that rusts the fastest maybe is air dribbles. So you're going to work on doing air dribbles for that because that's one of the more important kind of advanced mechanics. Or it could be working on double taps. So it can be anything that's fundamental. So speed flips I consider kind of fundamental at the higher ranks just because it's used on kickoffs and you have to have that. So for lower ranks, I wouldn't say that a speed flip is what you should be doing to warm up. But once you kind of get to the champish level, then yeah, you should be working on that and making sure those are consistent. So dribbling is another one. So like if you notice your dribbles.
Do you also like workshop maps? Do you think they're...
It depends. It depends on what your skill level is. So that is a good way to do it.
I use like the dribbling ones.
Yeah, so if you notice that your dribbling is what rusts out the fastest, then that's the one after you've warmed up your fingers and just kind of gotten used to the controller. Like you can go and go into a workshop map. So for me, like the second thing that's slow for me is my aerials. So once I warm up my speed flips, I'll jump into speed rings. And then I always go into aim training by Coco. Because that's a very fundamental thing. If you can't shoot, you can't score goals, you can't close out games.
Yeah, I do that too. And how long do you think it's like
so
actually doing this?
So this is where it depends on how like competitive and sweaty you want to be. Another good thing to do like with this is kind of to set like I'm not gonna quit this until I can get 5 in a row. So it's like that's kind of the level that okay, if I can get 5 in a row on normal settings, then I know I'm warmed up for my skill level. For some of you, it may be 3 in a row. For some of you, you may be just shy of pro players, and you can get 15 in a row before you feel like you're warmed up. And so you kind of treat it like a gym. So it's like either I'm going to get 3 sets of 5 in a row, or I'm going to get
3 sets of 12.
Yeah. So it's just like adjust it to your skill level and what is good enough for you. So that's my general process is get a little bit warmed up in free play, just getting familiar with the controller again. Focus on a important mechanic for your rank that you know is like rusty or isn't consistent right out the bat. So for me, that's speed flips. For you, that could be air dribbles. For some of you, that could be flicks. So it's just whichever one is the weakest. Then work on the second weakest and then go into shooting training packs or something to warm up shooting. And then once you're there, then that's typically when I'll go into a rank session. So, and it's important to notice that warm up is not training. That those are two separate goals. So, warm up is to get you to your normal skill level. Training is to raise your normal skill level. So
And how do you like prefer to train, or?
So like I just prefer to do like training sessions. So like for me, I'll go into like right now. This is one of the trainings that I'm working on. Is I am working on my aerial control, and so like I can do this map in about 6 minutes normally, but what I'm working on is being able to do fly backwards and do it controlled. So like you can see, not very controlled quite yet. And so like I've gotten this time down to about 12 minutes. And so I'm working on flying backwards. So you can see I messed up there. So what I'll do is I'll set a goal, like by the end of this week, I want to be able to do this backwards in under 10 minutes. And so
Just train until you reach that goal.
yeah. And so it's making incremental steps. Like the very first time you do this, your goal should just be, I'm going to fly backwards through this entire map once. And you're not worried about the time. So you'll move kind of slow like this. But then once you get more comfortable with it, you're going to be like, oh, well, I need to be able to move faster than that in game. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit. And then now you're going to start making mistakes again. So if you're not making mistakes in training, you're not pushing yourself hard enough.
Yeah, makes sense.
So yeah. So you can see this is what I'm training right now. So any questions about that? So just setting goals.
Everything clear.
Yeah. All right. So what about anybody else in the call? Does anybody have any questions?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I was Champ 3, Division 3, okay? So I took a long break from Rocket League. Now I can get out from Diamond 3 and from Diamond 2 in 2s and Diamond 2 in 1s. So I need some advice
Yeah.
how to return my play. The problem is not in my mechanics. The problem is when I joined the game, I scared very much to push the ball. So I will don't understand how I can tell you, but I scare very much if I push the ball, if I push to the ball or not. This is my biggest problem.
Yeah. So you're just not sure when you should attack the ball or not?
Yes.
Yeah. So an easy way to tell it around those ranks is a possession versus control. Let's see. Let me find. So this is just going to be a brief. So like what you'll notice here is they're waiting until so right now they have possession, and as soon as he doesn't have control over this ball, that's when rapid goes. So like that's just one of those super easy things. So like right now Gunnar had possession and control over this ball. So what does Rapid do? He sits back, he waits. Gunnar no longer has control over the ball. Rapid goes. So like we can watch this again. So Let's find another position. Right here, nobody's up for this. Zillow throws it away, so now they're taking control of it. Now watch. Rapid knows that he's beat to everything, so he immediately goes for this. Right here, you see how quick, like he's jumping before this ball bounces off the wall. So this is kind of like that difference in skill level. But you see how he's jumping for this. He knows that because of his speed and momentum and looking at all the other players, nobody else is going to be able to touch this ball before him. So he goes. Now they clear it to the side. Now again, watch. Nobody has possession or control of it, so Rapid covers the shot. They clear it out. So now nobody has control over that, so Rapid challenges it. Now Gunnar has control. Now you see how everybody kind of backs off and goes, okay, what's the threat here? So Gunnar has control over this ball, and then now they go, okay, there's not a threat on this. Gunnar can't do anything more, so we're just going to wait and let the ball come to us. So again, you see he's waiting until they no longer have control over it. So like this is the perfect example right here. So right now, Gunnar, he has control over this ball, but now he doesn't anymore because of that space. So that's when Rapid challenges. So just understanding when the opponent loses control of the ball and timing your challenges to when they don't have control over it. That's the biggest thing to take away as far as when to challenge and when to not. Unless you're challenging to force a ball for your teammate. So, yeah, does that answer your question?
Can you repeat?
Can you what?
Can you repeat? What are you talking?
What do you mean?
What?
Like, do you see how? So right here, Gunnar has possession of this ball, and he has control over this ball. So do you see that? Now he's controlling this ball. So right here, now the ball is away from him. So Sebastian challenged that to create space. And now Gunnar no longer has control over this ball. And it's coming towards Rapid. So Rapid knows that he's going to get there faster than him. And so he challenges and dunks him. And so that's where this is basically both concepts right one after the other. So right here, Gunnar has possession of this. And so Sebastian is challenging this in a way that makes him throw the ball away. So now Gunnar no longer has control over the ball, and then now Rapid can come in and get a better challenge. So you see Vindy had a chance to take control of it, and then he immediately threw it away, and that's when he was challenged. Right here, they're just throwing the ball away, and they're just constantly just keeping it in their side. You know, Vindy has control over this. You see how nobody's challenging it? It's because Vindy has complete control over this ball in this air dribble. And then now, as soon as he no longer has control, that's when they go. So that's kind of that concept in a nutshell. Any questions from anybody else?
Yeah, I had a question. So I don't know if it's like a personal thing or if it's like who I'm getting paired up against in my rank. So in twos, I'm like champ 1, diamond 3-ish, but I can't get out of plat 3, diamond 1 and 1s to save my life.
Okay,
and every time I hit like the top of plat 3, I just it's like a 7-2 game and I lose.
Yeah, so that just has to do with the way the MMR system is. Because so I played 3 people, so I'm around that rank in ones as well. So I played 3 people with grand champion tags for.
Oh yeah, I do all the time.
Yeah, so this just has to do more so with the way the MMR system does. So if like somebody only plays threes and they get really good at threes and they hit Grand Champ in threes and they develop all their mechanics in threes, and then they finally touch ones because they want to try and get better, because they've never played ones before or they do it so rarely, they're placed in plat. And so this is one of the reasons why you hear coaches talk about rank does not equal skill quite a bit, because this is the kind of the same thing in every game mode. So somebody could get really good in ones or twos and get all the mechanics there, and mechanics can typically carry you to about diamond, but at that point you do have to have some level of decision making to get there.
See, I'm not a mechanical player either. I'm more of like I play on the ground most of the time, dribble plays, and very short or very like simple aerials. I can't really double tap or anything like that, and that kind of screws me.
Yeah,
in a sense, playing in that rank.
Yeah, so the best advice I can give you for that is just play, do that shadow defense training pack, and then just work on spacing.
Okay.
That's going to be the biggest thing for ones, especially at the lower-ish ranks. And then when you play against those people, those are the best replays that you can go over.
Okay.
Because it's against people who are at such a different level. You can go and go, okay, what about his gameplay can I copy? And
yeah, I get what you mean. And I don't forfeit those games either, because I feel playing against people that are better than you is ultimately going to make you a better player.
Yeah.
Because you have to like kind of cope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's just one of those situations where, again, like rank does not equal skill. So just being aware of that, and then just focusing on getting better. Rank is about 80% skill, 20% luck, up until about Grand Champ. Okay. So if you're getting unlucky with teammates, that can drop you 3 ranks easy. And then once you kind of drop that 3 ranks, you've kind of forgotten how people around that rank play. And then you drop even further because you're like, oh wait, I'm used to having a teammate there for that, and they're not there for that. So that can drop you even further. But if you're trying to get better, ones is definitely the way to go, and just use those replays, and then just pick one thing that they do that you can copy, and try to start implementing that. And then slowly, as you play more and more Smurfs, you're going to pick up more and more good habits from those Smurfs that you can implement into your gameplay.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Like I know the MMR system for Rocket League is kind of fucked. Like I feel like it should base it off of your other ranks as well. But at the same time, that like also wouldn't work out in a sense.
Yeah,
Somebody
it's
could just be boosted in 2s or 3s and then be placed in like GC.
Yeah, it's a very complicated thing. They just stole chess's idea, or the ELO system for chess, more or less. And that kind of worked for like when this wasn't as competitive as a game, but now that everybody's getting more and more serious about it, it's kind of starting to show its shortcomings. Yeah. But that's a problem of having 100,000 players versus 10,000 players when they first started. So, yeah. Any other questions?
So I'm like around GC
Mhm.
in 2s, and I'm like champ 2 and 3s. Once you lose, but like for me, 3s all about it is like my teammates and then the opponents are giving away possession like most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So like if they give away possession and I'm upfield, do I like go for a demo like to eliminate one of them, or?
So that's a very loaded question, because it's all situational depending on several factors.
Okay.
So at the higher level, there's basically a rock, paper, scissors game going on. There's Boomer Ball beats like aggressive short infield passing plays because it commits all 3 people to being on their half of the field. So like, for instance, what was think it's like this goal right here. Yeah, like you see, like all three of them are upfield right now. Like you see how close this is. So like this is aggressive gameplay. So what beats this is being able to boom this ball as hard as you can on their net, or boom this ball to a person that's on an outlet pass. So like if somehow they can get this to Vendy, and Vendy's turned around for an outlet pass, they've got an open net for like, what, 30, 40 seconds, like during almost this entire offense. So that's like how rock beats paper, you know? So paper in this situation, or how paper beats rock. So paper in this situation is being able to boom it down the field to an outlet pass. So, but right now they're not able to do that, and they're trying to play like a possession game. And so this style of offense that Rapid is doing and his team beats that. And so it's this cycle of what is the opponent's trying to do, and then what is the counter to that. And so more or less it boils down to outlet passes, possession, or boomer ball. So that's a very oversimplified version of it. And then also you have to throw into the fact you have to have the mechanics to execute that, and the coordination as a team to execute that, and the awareness to execute that. So there's a lot of layers to it, but that's the 3-minute overview of how to play that rock, paper, scissors game.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, I would have a quick question. So I'm around Champion 2, and I'm super non-mechanical. Like I can't half flip. I don't do fast aerials and stuff like that. What would you say is like the most important mechanics that someone should pick up besides these two?
Honestly, half volleys and shooting. Like, because if you can half flip, which that should take you maybe 20 minutes to learn, 3 to 4 hours to master if you just intentionally put time into that every day. So like if you just spend 10 minutes half flipping, you'll have that down in a week. Easy. Fast aerials, it'll probably take you like 2 to 3 weeks to kind of get consistent at that. But again, that's just putting in 10 minutes a day, just doing fast aerials over and over again, practicing them. But outside of that, it's 100% being able to shoot. The rest of this is positioning. Like you can get, like Flakes has shown, like you can get to SSL in 1s and 2s for the most part with just good shooting and good ball control. Like you don't have to use air dribbles or all that stuff because they're not a fundamental thing, at least in 1s, I would say.
I feel like they're getting counted pretty easily on the higher ranks anyways. So I tried to learn like getting off the wall and just dragging the ball in, but yeah, once you reach them, they're just getting counted super easy.
Yeah. And so the one thing that none of us have that Flakes has is 10,000 hours of reading. So he can read and react much faster than all of us can. And so while his methodology and everything does work to a certain extent, the thing is you can't take away his 10,000 hours of reading ability and his ability to read the play 3 times faster than all of us. And that's what makes those simple mechanics so effective, is because he's reading and reacting 3 times faster than us.
All right. Yep, that was it already for me.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, by the way, for the work.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hot Cheese, did you have another question?
Yeah, because of you're watching pro play, do you think it's like it helps you to watch pro play? Because I think at some ranks maybe it actually like damages you because it's completely different from like
So
what happens at your low.
So there's it's kind of what are you trying to take away from it? So if you are trying to implement the exact same things, it's like you have to understand that they have mechanics that you don't, and they have consistency that you don't, and they're also in comms talking to each other. So in a sense, it is an entirely different game. And so, like, for those who don't know, I also coach a college team. And so what I'm teaching them to do are things that I would never teach you to do in ranked, because you're having to rely on everybody being on the same page. And so that's very hard to pull off in ranked if you're not in comms, and it's almost entirely impossible to do when you're solo queuing. So that's why I say ranking up is about 80% skill, 20% luck, you know, because there's a good chance that, like, with you being in this call, you're knowing things that a lot of other people don't, that apply to your rank and apply to your situations. And so when you come across those situations, you go, oh, the smart thing to see is working on, or I'm expecting my teammate to do this because this is a smart thing to do. And because you know to do it, you think they know to do it, but they don't know how to do it. And then now you guys aren't on the same page. So you're positioning for an outlet pass, and they're just trying to take possession of the ball when they need to be passing it to you. And so you get frustrated with that. And then you're like, oh, and that's kind of where some of the toxicity comes into Rocket League. So ranked and competitive play are very different. So what I'm teaching is more so, here's good solid fundamentals, and here's how you can create these situations within ranked. But you are going to play completely different in comms in a competitive setting versus ranked. And to bring that back to pro play, mechanics and what you can do in individual situations is what you need to take away. It's like when you're in a one-on-one situation, you can take something from that. But if you're trying to create a team play and go, oh, in this situation, NRG did a 3-man passing play that passed it back to me at the end of it. It's like, that's not going to work in ranked unless, like, you play with those people a lot and all that. Like, if you solo queue and do that, that's a miracle. So maybe at the, like, super high ranks, because, you know, it's pros playing with pros. But, like, at the lower ranks, you should not be going for that. What you should be looking at is, okay, this is how Squishy flicked this ball over one person that was challenging him, and then was able to follow it up to get it around a second person and then rotate out and leave it for his team. So he took care of 2/3 of the defense for his team, and then now the opponents are in a 2v1. That's something that you can take. That's an individual interaction that happens a lot that you can learn how to do. So that's a good idea to take that from pro play and, like, learn how to do different mechanics. But instead of trying to implement their game plan in ranked, you've got to know how to just take those individual reactions or interactions and apply that to your game versus trying to apply their whole game plan unless you're going in with a squad. So, does that make sense?
Yep, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, Dreams, I see you in here. You have any questions? It's been a while since our coaching session. All right. Well, cool. Well, I guess, does anybody else have any questions before I close this out? I'll do 2 more.
I would have one quick question more. I'm not sure if I understood you correctly earlier. Did you say you're Platinum 3 in once?
So I literally just hit Diamond 1 like 2 days ago.
How? How is it possible?
So knowledge of the
So
game.
weird.
Yeah, so knowledge of the game and the mechanics to pull it off are 2 entirely separate things. So, like, you'll hear, you know, like, if you listen to any content creator, it's like they're like, hey, there are no shortcuts. You've got to put hundreds of hours into this game to master each individual skill, like air dribbling, like doing basic dribbling, like doing flicks. Like you've got to put in a lot of time in this game to get the mechanics and get the consistency to play at a high level. So me, I have a lot of game knowledge. I've been following this game since about 2017, and I've been a coach in other settings. Watched a lot of hockey, so a lot of this stuff is very similar, at least in concept. So that's the separation. Is it's one thing to know what to do and know how to explain how the mechanics work, how to work on them. So I also taught guitar for 5 years professionally. So teaching people how to move their fingers in specific ways is something that applies to a controller as well. But at the same time, I can teach you how to play Through the Fire and Flames in Dragon Force. Because it's like, if you've ever played Guitar Hero 3, like that game, I can teach you how to do it.
Did.
Yeah, it's like, I can teach you how to do that. Can I do that? No. But can I show you the steps because I understand guitar and how your fingers move and stuff like that and how to get there? Yes. But can I do it myself? No. But you still got to be able to put in that time and practice to develop those types of mechanics to pull off those amazing things. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So yeah. So I guess one last question, if anybody's got one.
Thanks again.
Yeah, you're welcome. Who wants to ask the last question? Not everybody at once.
I'll ask it if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So right now I'm running like Champ 2, Champ 3-ish.
Mhm.
So I'm playing with higher ranked people because I'm trying to get better, like GC1, GC2s.
Mhm.
And I'm keeping up. The only issue I'm having is when it comes to like shooting, like I'm in the right spot, I'm just barely hitting it off. Like you have, I know like you can do training and all that, but like, is there any like way to like get used to faster pace, like thinking and shooting, like putting your car in the right like spot and stuff?
Yeah. So if you have Bacchus mod, you can actually literally just speed up the pace of the game or slow it down. So like that's a easy way to do it. Is like if you speed up the game like to 120% while you're in free play, and then slow it back down when you hit ranked, even though you're playing at that faster pace, and ranked with like your GC1 friends and everything,
Yeah.
it's going to feel about the same as it is in free play. So you're going to get used to having to make those touches really quickly. It will mess with your reads a little bit, so slow it back down and go back to normal a little bit before you hop back in ranked, get reacclimated to it. But that's a way. The other thing is, I imagine if you're not getting good shots, but you're getting close shots, is your positioning is still slightly off.
Okay.
So typically that means, like, are you typically hitting it high or are you typically hitting it wide?
It's either it's honestly it's kind of both. I normally hit it higher than wide, but I'm still hitting it wide.
Yeah,
almost
so
the same.
if you're hitting it higher, typically that means you're too close. If you're hitting it wide, it means that you're not getting a good line on the ball.
So I do have a tendency to jump before I know where my car is like facing. So like I'll have to like as soon as I jump, I have to like turn my car in a certain way to get
Yeah.
back in
Yeah,
the right
so
angle.
so that right there is the issue. You've got to get your line before you jump.
Okay.
So that's going to be probably your biggest thing. Is instead of jumping for the ball and then aiming yourself, aim for the ball and then jump. Because then all your momentum's going to be going in that direction. And then that's less boost you have to use, more momentum being transferred into the ball, which means a harder shot. And then also you're going to get to the ball faster so you can beat the opponent more often.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, cool. I'll give Hot Cheese one more question if he has one. But after that, I'll go ahead and close out this call.
No, I don't have any question.
All right.
Okay.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Great call today, guys. If you want to drop some rip, that would be awesome. But yeah, you guys have a good day.
Yeah, have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.